balls are red, baseballs are white, American footballs are brown, and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, but the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know. Well, here's the tale. Tennis is widely known to be a French sport. It dates back to the 12th century when people used handmade balls, and it was then called tennis, which is the verb to hold in French. And people used some pretty wacky material to make the balls with: cork, wool, chalk, animal fur, and even human hair. A few centuries on, Germany got dead into the tennis too, but wanted to make a few modifications to the ball to make it a bit more effective. Around this time, an American chemist had just created something called vulcanized rubber. Out of that, people started developing air-filled rubber balls, which were properly bouncy, but either red or grey in colour. These were manufactured in Melton Mowbray. That's right, the home of the pork pie. One problem: the balls kept on breaking on impact with the racket. The call of "new balls please" seemingly coming over every other point. Step forward English lawyer and tennis enthusiast John Moyer Heathcote, who suggested balls be covered in flannel to stop them from degrading. And thus the modern-day tennis ball was born. But these were white or black, so how did they become yellow? Well, in 1967, the controller of BBC Two, one Sir David Attenborough, decided the corporation should show Wimbledon on colour TV. He got his wish, and it was wide into people's homes across the country. The only sticking point: the white balls were nearly impossible to see on the screen. So the International Tennis Federation, sensing an opportunity, started developing a new ball that would be visible even without the need for 4K LED displays. Not that anyone had that in the late 60s. After rigorous testing, they came up with the colour optic yellow and decided every ball be coated in that colour from there on in. And there you have it. Tennis balls are yellow, all because Sir David Attenborough wanted to watch Wimbledon from the comfort of his own front room. You could say the ITF aced it.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome along to Sunday Edition with myself, Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. You know what they say, if you need a job doing properly, get a Geordie to do it. Yes, Michael Carrick is off and running as Man United boss with a fantastic performance to beat Man City. And aren't we lucky? The man who co-wrote Carrick's autobiography joins us in the studio. It's Henry Winter. Can Thomas Frank last much longer as Spurs boss? Surely he's doomed after that home defeat to the hapless Hammers. And how can Oliver Glasner stay any longer at Palace after slagging off the board in the wake of his decision to quit at the end of the season? We want to hear from you on all the main talking points. Text us on 81089, and we want your WhatsApp voice notes too on 03717 22 3344. We're also live on YouTube and your smart TV. Just search talksport.com/watch for more details. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Morning, Henry.
Good morning. How are we?
I've had a painful week, Henry. Newcastle losing to City in the Carabao Cup semi-final. That second goal, that was really difficult to take. Looks like we might have to relinquish our trophy. Then I had a wisdom tooth out the next day, and that's painful, believe me. I've had a couple out before. Yeah, don't make the obvious jokes.
Why?
because it was rotten and falling apart. If you're having your breakfast, I'm sorry about this, but he had to crack it into little bits to get it out, and it took a while. So yes,
working with you, as they say, is like pulling teeth. Talking.
So hang on, I'm still.
Go on.
I'm not finished.
Oh.
So yes, so I had a wisdom tooth out. That really hurts. Still got a problem with that. And this morning, I have to see your smug face after Carrick's success yesterday. So what a horrible week.
I'm sure you'll be absolutely delighted, as you say. If you need a job doing well, get a Geordie.
Geordie to do it. Yes, I mean, a fantastic performance yesterday, and it is highlighted in all the back pages, understandably, this morning, because I think it's fair to say not many people saw that coming. Not necessarily a victory, there's always a possibility of that, but the style they did it in, the way they played, fantastic.
I mean, there is an element of raising yourself for big games, raising yourself for the derby, and there was so much scrutiny on, was it the players, was it Amarin? So I think that the players obviously had their own motivation. But as you say, Carrick's gone in there, he's restored belief. The fans were obviously very much on side. Manchester United fans, home and away, have been fantastically patient, given some of the nonsense that's been served up before them. And he tweaked the team, and everyone talks about should Manchester United, in the whole sort of DNA element. I think when you have big clubs, famous historic clubs like Manchester United and others, I think the DNA is important. And the DNA for Manchester United is pouring forward in numbers, as you saw, 3 or 4 players absolutely sprinting. I mean, Diallo, was it 30 sprints that he put in, and playing with a back four, playing with width, some of the balls that Cunha obviously played in for Dorgu's goal late on, and also playing with a touch of the academy as well. And wasn't it good to see Kobbie Mainoo?
Yeah,
just doing well. Well, I did. Yeah, because, first for PSR and also squad cost ratio, whatever it's called nowadays, FFP reasons, running out the alphabet here with these things. But in terms of sustainability, absolutely you've got to look for the academy. What's the point of having an academy pouring millions of pounds into it and then not promoting kids? And that's
But I mean, I find it a bit strange when people go on about the DNA and basically say, that's it, commitment, getting in there, trying
It's more sophisticated
hard.
than that,
got that, surely.
I mean, you sound a bit sort of thingy bastard.
And Roy Keane-ish.
Roy Keane-ish, yeah. But no, it's absolutely more than that. It's more sophisticated than that. It is playing with width. It is using the academy. It is that bond with the fans as well. And Carrick, who's a very down-to-earth person, who'd be the one person there who's not getting carried away, he embodies that. And I love this idea that, because he's nice and because he smiles in press conferences, that Michael, he's a very committed, competitive individual.
Yeah. Lots of smiling faces on the back pages of Man United players, which, to be fair, we haven't seen a lot of. We've seen quite a few snarls in recent matches, but real smiling faces. Mbeumo's return was obviously hugely significant. As you say, Diallo looking really happy that both of them can play with a bit of freedom, I suppose.
Would you be smiling if you're Benjamin Sesko, who scored 2 in the last game? I mean, that is going to be the issue that Carrick has to deal with, because Manchester United looked good in that sort of effectively a 4-4-2
it was
formation.
4-4-2.
I know, it's old school. I know.
Very old school. Well,
you're the one who should be looking smug this morning, because this is absolutely right. Put it in the mixer.
Match of the day last night, they had 3 lines drawn, 4-4-2, fantastic. Well, does that not mean that Sesko might have a better chance of playing because there might be room for 2 strikers?
Yeah, but then where do you put in Fernandes? Because if you're going to have Casemiro and Mainoo as your central midfield, and Fernandes I thought was excellent. So yeah, it was interesting actually, because listening to the commentary, there was obviously a sort of debate going on about should Kobbie Mainoo be sort of taken off, was he tiring? He did look like he was tired, but then he just got the second wind, and so yeah, no, it was good. And look, you know what Michael Carrick's like, and he will have his feet on the ground. But it's good that they're reconnecting with the fans, reconnecting with the way Manchester United should play, and no more wing-backs.
He put over a good message, actually, saying that, we do have to keep our feet on the ground. But at the same time, you could see how happy he was as he went down that tunnel, punch in the air, both fists. He knew how significant that was.
I mean, because you mentioned the book, and when we were writing the book, what he was writing, I was just sort of making the tea and turning the tape recorder on. He was actually retiring at Manchester United as a player at the time, and I said, what's it like to play for Manchester United? And he said, when you're me, you don't just play for Manchester United, you live for it. And that it was more than employment. He was absolutely embedded in it, and that probably breaks your heart as a
I bet he wishes he'd signed for Newcastle, really. But there you go.
Yeah, but he didn't.
Couple of managers in the news for
not smiling.
How precarious their jobs are for different reasons. Thomas Frank, you can't lose to the hapless Hammers and expect to survive, surely.
Well, you can't move on the back pages, first edition, second editions for Sunday Tell. Frank fighting for his job, Matt Law, Johnny Northcroft in the Sunday Times, Frank on the brink, Craig Hope in the Mail on Sunday. It is grim, the home record. You cannot keep struggling at home in that amazing stadium, amazing training ground. Tottenham have got a lot going for them. We can obviously question recruitment and the protests and the tension between a quite substantial element of the support and the board. But really, as a manager, and both of us admire Thomas Frank as a manager, what he did.
I'm sure you've said he's fantastic in the past.
I'm sure you have as well. Absolutely.
I have actually.
No, you're not a Thomas Frank fan.
I thought he did a very good job at Brentford. There's no denying that, and I expected him to do a good job at Spurs.
More scrutiny, more expectations, more an expectation of playing the game a certain way. To dare is to do. The game is about glory, and I just think you look at some of Tottenham Hotspur's football, and they do take a little bit of time to get going. And look, there are issues with injuries and recruitment. You have to sort of absolutely throw that into the mix. But do you think he survives today?
Yeah, possibly gets the Dortmund game, seeing as it's on Tuesday. You might as well. And he's got Burnley at the weekend, so if you could beat Dortmund or put up a good show, get a draw, go into Burnley,
improving
Burnley. And if they draw against your beloved Liverpool, then they must be improving.
Yeah.
He's got, I think it's Burnley, isn't it, next weekend? Then there's a possibility that you could get through those two games and maybe survive. But
he looked drained afterwards.
Looks terminal, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, I mean, he did look absolutely exhausted. And then, of course, the flip side is who do you bring in? Do you bring
in Oliver Glasner?
What, honestly, I was tweeting about that earlier, and I said, well, it's quite easy. Even with London's congested transport, he should be able to get across there. So Oliver Glasner, again, a lot of it on the back page. How many great press conferences have we had out of Glasner?
We should be talking about great press conferences later on in our best of the best, but Glasner's been on fire this week. And, of course, as we've seen before with managers, the minute you say you're going to be off at the end of the season, there's a problem. But he's also got nothing to lose slagging off the board either, has he?
Yeah, and do they react? Do they react and say, you can't keep calling us out like this? To be fair, he's got a point. Losing Mark Gay as he did, Eze in the summer.
Do you blame the board for selling Mark Gay now? Do you blame them for that and taking 20 million quid when you're going to get nothing?
I think Parish has been consistent on it. He's basically said that we can't afford to let a player go without getting some remuneration. So they have to sell him early and get the
50 million on him by not selling him for 70 a year ago.
But if you are an ambitious manager like Glasner, and you see important elements, selling your captain as well.
But also the PSR situation will affect Palace a bit more probably than some others with a smaller capacity crowd. It's going to hit Bournemouth, Brentford. It is going to hit them,
and they've got investments in the stadium and issues like that. But again, Glasner all over the. Do
you think he can actually survive now, whether he wants to or not? Maybe he does still want to keep going to the end of the season to maybe win the Europa Conference. Can he?
I think it's difficult. I think when you use a word like absolutely abandoned, and then you use the word like we, he was obviously talking partly about the coaching department, but also about almost talking about the football department and the dressing room. We've been abandoned by this lack of investment. Does Mateta now go? What's going to happen with Adam Wharton?
I know.
There's so much of a sort of drift now. We've seen this with clubs where managers announce that they're going early. They drift. They run into issues. Players inevitably look elsewhere.
Such a shame, because Palace has been such a fantastic story.
Brilliant story.
I feel a little bit tarnished, wouldn't it, really? I feel for Palace fans who've had such a great ride and they're going to lose a great manager. Coming up next on Sunday Edition, we'll take a deeper look at yesterday's Premier League action, starting with what else but the Manchester derby. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Now the Australian Open tennis is up and running. Time for an update with Tom Clayton.
Yeah, and it's all started so well for Cam Norrie, winning his opening set of his opening match to love. But since then, opponent Benjamin Bonzi has stormed back, winning a second set tiebreaker and going a break-up in the third, this turning into a real battle of a match. Norrie is Britain's top hope in the men's draw, as Jack Draper isn't in Melbourne as he recovers from a long-term arm injury. Good news from British qualifier and world number 185 Arthur Ferry, though. He knocked out the 20th seed Flavio Cobolli overnight, the biggest shock of the tournament so far. Carlos Alcaraz in action later this morning too. Meanwhile, in the women's draw, the top seed Aryna Sabalenka is already underway, winning the opening set of her first match against France's Titi Rakota Manga Rajaona. She's gone a break-up in the second as well. 45-year-old Venus Williams is out on court in the early stages of her first-round match, 18 years on from her debut at the Australian Open, breaking the women's singles age record in Melbourne. And Emma Raducanu kicks off her campaign shortly as well.
The Australian Open update on talkSPORT with TNT Sports. Stream every set live on Discovery Plus or watch TNT Sports channels on EE, Sky and Virgin Media. Subscription required. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome everyone to the theatre of dreams. And they're bursting forward. Now it's 4-on-2 and it's being led by Fernandez. And now it's in Burma to finish it. He does. And Manchester United lead on the breakaway.
This season, it looks like all the 50-50 decisions have gone against us.
Matt Sells with a terrific one-handed save away to his right-hand side from Bukayo Saka.
Comes into the penalty area, looking for Dorgu, and Dorgu gets on the end of it to finish it.
We're fighting to get Champions League football and we need to do everything we can to get it, so that's what we aim.
Old Trafford roars like it hasn't in years. Pride restored, belief rekindled. Michael Carrick's era gets off to the dream start.
Yeah, well-deserved win from Man United. They were all game much better than us.
And Arsenal now have a 7-point lead over City and Villa at the end of the season, though. Will they see this as 2 points dropped? To the City ground, Forest 0. Arsenal 0.
On a seismic afternoon at Old Trafford, where Manchester United have beaten Manchester City by 2-0.
Yeah, very, very big win for Man United against City and a slip-up from Arsenal with that 0-0 draw at Forest. We're able to take a bit of a deeper dive into Man United's performance, and after that big win, manager Michael Carrick gave his thoughts on whether United have been in crisis.
It was always in turmoil, even when we were winning, so from the outside, so that's nothing new. Yeah, I understand how it is. It's never as it seems, you know, it's never extreme as it seems, but I've been really impressed and felt very comfortable and at home since I've come out in terms of what the culture's been like since I've got here, what the players have given me, what the staff, backroom staff have been incredible, all through the club. So there's a real drive for wanting success, you know, and effort and knowledge and everything. So yeah, it's one result doesn't change everything, but it gives us a real platform to move forward with, and the boys have got a good feeling. We need to build on it.
I beg to differ with your pal, Mr. Carrick, there, when he says it's never as extreme as it seems. But I think it was. I think you'd have to say this is pretty low. I mean, I'm not quite getting into the 70s territory when they were relegated, but it was bad.
It was bad, and particularly in the modern world that we live in, everything's accelerated on social media in terms of heroes to...
You're partly responsible for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a fascinating individual. I mean, the calmness which you talk about is right. I mean, he's very meticulous, very precise, very organised. I mean, you know, I'm a bit of a child. I've got a bit of schoolboy mischievous humour. No, crush. No, just sort of humour. And if he, you know, when we were sort of doing the book, if he sort of went out of the room to get a coffee or whatever, I would actually sort of tweak the cushions on the sofa and tweak the sort of the magazines on the coffee table. And he would instinctively come in, because it's a bit of a test that people do for people, just to sort of... Yeah. Oh, I've done it with you. It's quite funny, actually. Yeah, and anyway, he walked back in and he just carried on talking. But instinctively, he had noticed that the one or two cushions had been tweaked by sort of 10 degrees and the magazines on the table.
That is very childish.
Well, it is, but also, I mean, look, he's imbued and embedded in the game exactly like you, exactly like all Geordies. I mean, he comes out of Wallsend Boys club. His dad, Vince, is still there. I still think he plays. Graham, his brother, very highly regarded FA coach. And I remember the two of them were around the kitchen table. I think Michael was doing his pro licence at the time. And they were just talking tactics. And I said, can I put the tape recorder on this? Because it was really interesting. And for 45 minutes, they talked in depth. And Michael was still playing. It was still sort of finishing at Manchester United in 2018. And so absolutely embedded in the game. He lives and breathes football, lives and breathes Manchester United. Kid at the academy. We remember him at Turf Moor with the Manchester United fans starting the chants. I mean, that is Michael for you. But yeah, competitive family. I mean, when I remember Michael was doing the Great North Run for his foundation, and just before the start, he got a text from his dad, and all it said was the time that his dad had finished the Great North Run in. I mean, they are quite competitive like that.
He keeps being referred to as an interim head coach, but I haven't seen anywhere when Man United said he was interim. I think he's a head coach on a short contract, isn't he? With the chance of getting the job full time, or not? Even though Gary Neville says, well, you shouldn't get the job full time because he just at the end of the season, and Roy Keane doesn't want him there at all, I don't think.
Isn't that modern management? Everyone's a head coach on a short-term contract because results and everything dictate everything. And I think if the two of them go this week, Glasner and Frank, that'll be 8 this season. I think the record is 22-23 with 14 going. So yeah, look,
I think he's got a bit of a problem with Keane, Carrick, because
you say this.
Yeah, I do. Hang on, because Keane has a grudge against.
And he never forgets.
His wife, and he never forgets. So he's got grudging congratulations.
Shall I explain the grudge?
If you wish.
Yeah, I mean, it was 12 years ago. Manchester United had a very flat performance against Olympiacos. And who did they trust to go out and talk afterwards to defend the team? And Michael was a bit downbeat because he was, disappointed with their performance. And Keane had a go. I think Keane was on punditry, and Lisa, Michael's wife, had a go back and
certainly did.
And swiftly deleted the tweet. And I think it's also an interesting insight into Roy Keane's mindset. So competitive, hasn't forgotten 12 years on. But I think I don't have a problem with pundits like Keane and Neville.
Holding the grudge for that long is but he's not going to let it go.
But that's sort of Keane's psychology. Yeah, absolutely. But then in a way, he represents the standards that Manchester United's players should be aspiring to.
I think he's going to be digging away at him.
But not if they're winning.
Yeah, but he's still fine. He's still going to find things. It's very difficult to keep Roy Keane back on your side. I would say that's next to impossible.
Yeah, but if Manchester United's doing well, I mean, the table doesn't lie, the results don't lie. I think it would be difficult. Look, Keane's not stupid.
He'll see off. I mean, I think Carrick will see off Neville and Scholes all right. That'll be fine. They were teammates. Keane, of course, wasn't a teammate. This is the thing.
Well, he inherited his shirt, the 16 shirt.
Which makes it difficult for him. And Keane is a very, very big figure in punditry. No getting away from it. And so I think that's going to be a difficult one.
He is a brilliant pundit.
Anyway, just quickly on Man City, Pep Guardiola gave his thoughts on the defeat.
The better team won. Congratulations, United. When that's happened, I had to accept it, and we're not good enough.
What was the reason, do you think, for that?
Well, they have an energy I didn't have, and football, but not, I would say now, when you have energy, you're always thinking without the ball. I'm saying with the ball. So we arrived many times in the final third, against 6 in the back or whatever, but we didn't make crosses, we didn't make attack to the box, pass back, attack there, and the other one, it was again and again, it's fine, but at the end you go there. And, it's a little bit okay, we are good, we control, and the other one, and that's why it's more difficult.
Quick word on City. I'll give you one. Terrible.
Yeah, really poor. But look, you have to give credit to Manchester United, the way they stifled space. Absolutely. I've never seen Foden so quiet.
You'd expect more from City than that. And Holland's going through a difficult patch as well, isn't he?
And City's best player was their goalkeeper by a mile, Donnarumma.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. And next up, we'll go through the rest of the Premier League action, including a bad day for Spurs and Crystal Palace.
Liverpool 1, Burnley 1, and it's Marcus Edwards who's got it this time. He does shoot from a harder position than he was in a few moments ago, and he finds the back of the net. It's a wonderful effort.
And it will be Cole Palmer, surely, to seal the points for Chelsea, and he fires left-footed into the bottom left-hand corner. Chelsea 2, Brentford 0.
It is Sunderland 2, Crystal Palace 1. The goal machine for Sunderland, Brian Brobby, has hit the ball in the back of the net.
In the first few seconds of stoppage time, Mecha, who scored in 3 successive defeats in November, he has his 5th of the season. It looks like it may well be the winner. Leeds United 1, Fulham 0.
This is astonishing. It's Tottenham 1, West Ham 2. Callum Wilson, the hero for West Ham in the dying moment.
Yeah, that's how the rest of the Premier League sounded on talkSPORT yesterday. I must admit, I thought Callum Wilson was leaving, and then suddenly he popped up coming on a sub and got the winner. I was talking about Thomas Frank earlier on. We were talking about it in the paper review at the start. The Twitter feeds are saying that Henry Winter guy, he was waxing lyrical back in August when Thomas Frank just got the job at Spurs. And to be fair, and I'll let you off the hook here, most people expected him to do a good job at Spurs. Now, is it that he just inherited a team from Ange Postecoglou that was quite bad and he hasn't been able to make it any better? Or has he made big mistakes going into Tottenham? I mean, this is a man who'd built up his CV, built a solid foundation at Brentford. I get that Spurs are a bigger club, but the principles surely apply.
He was also being linked with the Manchester United job.
Indeed.
I mean, they were bigger clubs than Spurs.
Not anymore, I suspect.
No, not anymore. He'll have to sort of go away, regroup, and then.
Well, he's not sacked yet.
No, he's not sacked yet, but I mean, it's pretty strong, the back pages today, in terms of, and when there's a unanimity of voices across the back pages, as you know, there's no smoke without fire.
I keep listening here, waiting for somebody to say, Frank's been sacked. I know, it's one of those sort of mornings, isn't it? You feel, or Glasner's walked. We'll get on to him in a minute. But you lose to West Ham. That's serious trouble, isn't it? Because not just because they were the rivals in the battle for the London Stadium, but that West Ham looked so bad.
There is an element of, if you're ailing, Dr. Tottenham will see you now.
Yes, that's right.
As Tottenham fans often say. I mean, frustrating for them, because you look at that ground, it's magnificent. You look at that training ground, it's magnificent. They've got a lot going for them. But that is, a lot of it is issues with recruitment, issues with the board. I understand that. But a lot of this is down to Thomas Frank. And I think we've seen, it's like Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. He didn't quite understand the size of the job. Russell Martin at Rangers. I think when you step in there,
he goes there that this is big ground, big club, step up from Brentford. Surely you know that.
But you're not just being the Brentford manager. You have to divest yourself of all those thoughts and actually look the part. Sometimes dress the part for some.
Ooh, what
people.
Do you mean?
I think that was. I'm certainly in the case of Rangers. Rangers fans that you talk to like to see, and you might say it's a very sort of superficial thing in your JD Sports wardrobe, but you might think it's a bit of a superficial thing, but they like a manager of a club like Rangers, and I'm sure some other clubs, to look the part.
So you want Frank in a suit?
No, not necessarily.
What do you want wearing?
I don't necessarily want him to look like he's just popping down the shop to get some milk and chewing gum and all that.
That's the secret.
No, but so much of it, look, we work in the media, so much of it is about image, and is about presenting image, because the majority of fans won't actually have an opportunity to talk to Thomas Frank one-on-one and know what an actually engaging individual he is. So perception is just so important, and I just don't think he radiated that element, that authority.
In a tracky top yesterday, and he's winning. He won.
Yeah,
he wasn't in a suit.
He was playing Spurs.
Yeah,
and his goalkeeper had a great game.
So, are you making the point, seriously, that if you wear a suit, then the other players will dress accordingly, have more respect for the badge and the club and all that?
No, I think there's an element of standing there with authority. One of the things that your fellow Geordie people were saying about Michael Carrick is that he actually looked the part. He just looked smart. Look, it's
smart coat.
There's only an element of it is image. Most of it is about organising, coaching, and obviously on the back of better recruitment. But I do think it does play a part. Yeah, image.
Anyway, there were protests against the board before the game, and we've had a voice note come in from Billy, the Tottenham fan. Here's what he had to say.
Before the game, Ginger Tottenham protested outside, and anyone who saw that game can see why. You know, we were promised in the summer an ambitious football team. We were promised under the new ownership, and I say new ownership in inverted commas there, under the new direction, that we would be an ambitious football team that wanted to compete on all four fronts, where you can see today we're absolutely miles off even competing in one. So, that's why we protested. We are demanding more from this board. Vinay posted a statement, interesting timing before the game, saying, acknowledging the problems, acknowledging the fan connection. But I think after today, another nail has been put in the coffin of this football club. Just an absolutely unthinkable result. And Change for Tottenham will be continuing their action, until we see the promises delivered from the board. But I think today goes a long way to sort of proving the fact that Tottenham Hotspur as a football club are miles off it at the moment. We're a club in crisis, a managerial crisis, a player crisis. We've got players that are fighting the fans in previous games. We've got the captain coming out making statements, the board having to make statements before games. This is an absolute shambles of a football club, and certainly miles off what they promised in summer. So Change for Tottenham will be back. We'll be continuing to protest until we get those promises delivered or new ownership.
Change for Tottenham, as Billy says, that covers a multitude of sins, doesn't it? Change the players, change the manager, change the board. You can't change everything.
No, and to make the point that Billy is very much behind this movement. I exchanged messages with him last night, and we appreciate his views. I actually thought and I'm sure Vinay, the Tottenham Hotspur chief executive, will be listening to that. And it was a fairly measured response. It wasn't a rant. I know you like to put things in rant terms, but actually I thought what he said there was very cogent.
I just don't know what he wants changing.
You couldn't really dispute it. I think, first thing they want is more connection between the board and the supporters.
In the short term, you've got to solve it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is absolutely to do with the manager. And maybe the board will listen to Billy and voice notes like that, but also probably the fairly splenetic reaction of the Tottenham Hotspur fans. The home faithful was pretty damning towards Thomas Frank, and however much I might admire him long term, that looked just the final whistle.
It does. One manager you can truly admire, Reggie Lebris at Sunderland. This is our usual Let's Pray Sunderland section, but unfortunately for Sunderland fans, I've got to concentrate a bit more on Crystal Palace and the nature of what's going on there. At full time, Oliver Glasner continued his criticism of the Crystal Palace board.
Difficult result, difficult for me to accept. Not because of the performance. I think 50-60 minutes performance was well. Then we had 15-20 minutes where we were under pressure. We conceded a goal. Players tried everything until the end. They're leaving their heart on the pitch, but we feel that we are being abandoned completely, and selling our captain one day before a Premier League game. No understanding. We're playing with 12-13 players from our original squad for weeks now, and then that makes it so tough to accept this defeat, because the players they gave everything, and we had no substitution. I was looking on the bench, just kids there, and that's how it is. That's, I think, why we are where we are. And if your heart gets torn out twice a season, one day before a game, so with Eze in summer and with your captain now, I've just completely no understanding.
Whoa, team abandoned, heart torn out. It's all there. It doesn't get much more emotive than that, does it?
It doesn't, but just before we move on to Glasner, we should just remember Andy Edmonds, who was the press steward at the Stadium of Light, who'd been there, back into the Roker Park days, who suddenly passed away last week. And I know a lot of people's thoughts will be with his family, because he was, when you went to the ground, he was always a welcoming face. He always greeted you, sort of journalists sort of swanning up from the south well. So I know Sunderland have been paying tributes to him, and their fans have. So just with the thoughts of Andy's family today, which puts everything into perspective. As you say, Sunderland having just a fantastic season, and full credit to them. But as you rightly say, we have to focus on Palace and what's been going on there. I just think when a manager comes out, head coach comes out and talks like that and challenges the board for the third time in 4 days, and speaks with such just anger in his voice, using words like completely and absolutely abandoned, tore the heart out of the team, with Mark Gay going and Eze going as well. That is huge. And do you see him lasting the week?
No, it'd be difficult. I think Eze might be better off staying at Palace. He'd be getting a game.
Yeah.
Because his career's disappearing ahead of the World Cup at the moment. It's going to be a big problem for him. Look, I don't think Glasner can survive the week. I think, again, it's one of those days today where we're keeping an eye on it. But it's very hard for him to do that, even though I think Palace fans might like him to stay, because I think they're still clinging to that possibility of winning the Europa Conference.
Yeah. I mean, Tony Cascarino on before us was making the point about why he didn't use some of the academy kids before. And if you go down to the training ground, you cross the road and you see the academy, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
they've got the facilities there, and also an area of the country which is a hotbed for talents, with the cages and where these young players are developing. I mean, you could have an England team from players from South London, from within sort of 8 miles of Selhurst Park. So. Yeah, I mean, it's, there are issues on both sides, but really, you got to feel for Glasner when he's trying to build a team and he's losing key players. How do you finish a puzzle if you haven't got all the pieces?
I know, it's a
bit of a Christmas question.
So you sympathise with it?
Absolutely, of course I do. A huge sympathy with Glasner. What the memories that he's given those Crystal Palace fans?
It's going to be tarnished, isn't
it? Tarnished? I mean, it's going to be. It's a disappointing end to what has been. Look, he is probably, statistically and trophy-wise, he is their greatest ever manager.
Absolutely. Shame. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. And next up, it's our feature, Best of the Best. This is Sunday Edition here on talkSPORT. Time for an update from the Australian Open tennis with Tom Clayton.
And an uphill struggle for Cam Norrie currently as Benjamin Bonzi has come from a set behind to lead their opening round match. Norrie will have to go the distance to avoid an early exit. Carlos Alcaraz will be underway shortly against Australian Adam Walton. And how about this? British qualifier Arthur Ferry, ranked 185th in the world, has beaten the 20th seed Flavio Caboli. In the women's side, the women's top seed Arina Sabalenka has won her opening round match in comfortable fashion. She's beaten Titi Rakoto Manga Rajaona 6-3, 6-1. She could come up against Emma Raducanu in the third round, with the British 26 seed getting underway later this morning. Earlier, the 11th seed Ekaterina Alexandrova was knocked out by Turkish qualifier Zeynep Sönmez in 3-2. A few shocks and surprises on day one at the Australian Open.
The Australian Open update on talkSPORT with TNT Sports. Every set exclusively live on TNT Sports. Subscription required. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Be there for Super Bowl 60 on talkSPORT.
With the Super Bowl just around the corner, talkSPORT's giving you and a friend a chance to experience it live. You've got until Thursday to enter for the chance to win tickets to the Super Bowl on Sunday, 8th of February. Return flights to San Francisco, 3 nights accommodation and spending money. In just a few weeks, you could be soaking up the Super Bowl atmosphere and exploring San Francisco. Sounds good? Here's how to enter.
For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close this Thursday at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now.
This is Sunday edition on talkSPORT. Loads more to come before 11. We'll look ahead to the final of AFCON and touch on today's Premier League action. But now it's time for this.
One of the greatest tries ever scored, but she won't get there. Kaylee Hodgkinson is the Olympic champion.
I'm going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
Oh, Stephen Harmison, one of the great balls. Double 12! Oh, my word!
Best of the best on Sunday edition.
I think I'm a special one.
I think he's done it! Yes! You beauty! Let's be having you!
On talkSPORT.
Yeah, this is our special feature, Best of the Best, where me and Henry choose a topic every Sunday and choose the best of it. Today, in the light of 2 Oliver Glasner belters during the week, me and Henry have gone for our favourite manager press conferences.
They are nervous because we are at the top of the table. So I want to be clear that I don't want to play mind games too early. I think that they want to start. So I was taking some facts.
And I won more premierships alone than the other 19 managers together. 3 for me and 2 for them. Respect. Respect.
Okay, I said it to your face. And if you do it again, say now. And go to another ground.
You can tell him now, if you're watching it, we're still fighting for this title, and he's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
That depends on your outlook, Dan, but I'll tell you one thing, irrespective of tomorrow, I'm not a clown. I never will be, mate.
Oh, yes, there's some absolute belters in there. Now, initially, when me and Henry thought about this particular section, best press conference, we thought, well, let's just do ones we've been at, because there's 10, 12, 20 of those. But the trouble is, the absolute gold standard of press conference was where everybody went, blimey, was Joe Kinnear, and we weren't at that one. And it was off the charts. Technically, I suppose, it wasn't actually the press conference. It was when everybody put their recorders down to start the press conference, and he just picked on everyone straight away.
Yeah,
at Newcastle United.
Yeah, 53 swear words. I mean, the beep gun was going off like a machine gun. I mean, it was remarkable. He was upset. I mean, a bit of context, October 2008, Joe Kinnear. I think he was a little bit upset by one story that there was no one at the training ground. And his argument was they'd been given the day off. Yeah. But it was remarkable. I mean, as you say, we weren't there, but it was brilliant. It was all over the back pages, insides as well. And I actually got a call from Joe the next day saying, just asking about not the journalist sort of individually, but what was the mood like?
Did you tell him? Did you say, "Oh,
no, I didn't know," because
it
was a message. So he said, "Call me." So I actually called him back, and I got his answer.
You swear at you?
Then I got his answer phone, and one of his answer phone messages down the years was, "I'm out right now. Please leave a message, especially if you're the president of Real Madrid," which I was rather like with Joe. Good character.
There's so many good ones. We're going to rattle through them, and obviously, just in recent times, we've had Maresca's 48 hours, the last 48 hours being terrible. Amarin's destruction of his own job, wasn't it? I mean, he took himself apart basically because he wanted to be manager, not a head coach, so he was gone. But we heard in that package there Rafa and Facts, which was that was special.
The Facts was huge. January 2009. I mean, I wasn't there. I was at the Telegraph in the office, and everyone was just saying, "Have you heard these sort of quotes from Rafa?" I think was it at the start of it, or was it in a separate section? Anyway, he'd
come in armed, put it that way.
Yeah, he was annoyed that Sir Alex Ferguson, or that Mr. Ferguson, as he always referred to him, had suggested that Liverpool, who were leading the Premier League at the time, were just going to sort of bottle it under pressure, the sort of mind games. So as you could hear the rustling of paper, he actually came out with statistics which just showed, and then he was just talking, maybe they are nervous because we're at the top of the table, but I want to talk about facts. And he went through facts. And I talked to someone at Manchester United later that day, and they found it absolutely hilarious.
One of your favourites is Ostrich.
Ostrich Gate was brilliant. I was there for that. 2015 at the King Power, Nigel Pearson. And it was, I think they'd had a 3-1 defeat to Chelsea. And then Pearson was talking about the amount of criticism and negativity that his players have had to endure over the course of the season. And then one of the most mild-mannered, likeable journalists who we know, Ian Baker of the Wardlaw's press agency, just sort of innocently asked him and said, could you specify the criticism? And Pearson just absolutely went for him. He said, if you don't understand that question, then I think you are an ostrich. Your head must be in the sand. Is your head in the sand? Are you flexible enough to get your head in the sand? My suspicion would be no. I can, you can't. And obviously this just went viral. And the players were saying, Jamie Vardy told me that when they went into Beaver Drive, the training ground at the time, I think it was probably the next day for a warm down, the chef had gone out and bought just a crate load of ostrich burgers to put on the menu.
Now, one of my favourites, because me and Henry were both there, and I really enjoyed this one, is when Roy Keane was unveiled. Keane's cropping up a lot this morning. He was unveiled as the Ipswich manager, and Henry, as is his way, through his little sycophantic question to Roy, which was, Roy, what makes so many ex-Man United players such good managers? And Roy replied, who?
Who says they are good managers?
Who says they're good managers? Henry slightly taken aback. Well, go on. Who?
And what happens in occasions like this is that, there is honour amongst thieves, and you expect your colleague to back you up. And I looked round and I saw you sort of disappearing behind a sort of hedge. And there was just sort of me and Roy Keane. And I'd actually, because I'd been talking to people where he did his UEFA Pro licence at Warwick University, and some of the sort of, the teachers, coach educators there just said he was the best student they had. So I was just it was on the back of that, which he got his pro licence, I think, the year before 2008, and this was 2009. Anyway, so he ripped into effectively ripped into the 94 team, who I was trying to compare it to. And then you, in your delicate way, splashed it all over the back page. Steve Bruce is useless or something. He had to ring up Steve Bruce and Mark Hughes.
Yeah.
And wasn't it awkward because he was trying to take Alex Bruce, Steve's son, on loan at the time. So, but thanks for the support, Shaun.
Very funny. We're running out of time, sadly, but we could have done about 10 Mourinho's. You heard that one in the kick, a special one. You particularly like this one in Scotland. It's hard to explain, but it was a bit about bird flu.
He was being asked about bird flu, and he said, driving into the training ground Cobham today, I was horrified to hear about the bird flu in Scotland and swans falling out the sky. I am feeling a lot of pressure with the swan in Scotland, less so in the title race.
Absolutely. You could do quite a few Kevin Keegan ones, like when he quit as a Newcastle boss, and we played in the segment him doing I'd love it, which technically wasn't a press conference. It's an interview with a Sky reporter, so I think I'm going to rule that one out. I could throw in Bobby Robson absolutely eviscerating me at a press conference when I wasn't there for saying that there were so many cliques in the Newcastle side. They needed 4 different dressing rooms. No, he wasn't. There were a lot of cliques at the time. and he called me out to various broadcasters who then did big segments on it. And there was front page of Press Gazette as well, where they said that
you
Bobby
deserve
Roode
it. Have we got time for Oleg Blockin?
This is a good one. Oleg Blockin, which I didn't know was going to feature in this. Henry said, I've got to do the Oleg Blockin one. Fire away.
2012, Euro 2012, England were playing Ukraine. We talked a little bit about Roy Hodgson's team. Oleg Blockin was there. And suddenly all the Ukrainian journalists absolutely went for him and said, how's Shevchenko's knee? Are you going to be able to survive? And they kept on going and asking about Shevchenko's knee. And Oleg Blockin said to one of the journalists who'd been particularly asking about it, said, right, you and me outside. And he was literally taking off his jacket and wanting to fight the journalist. And there was a very mild-mannered UEFA press officer who had to step in between them. But classic.
Good way to finish that. Manager taking on journalists and offering them outside. Next up, we're going to turn our attention to the NBA, which comes to the O2 later this afternoon.
Monaco, Singapore, Las Vegas. What do they all have in common? Well, they're all F1 street circuits. 20 years ago, the sports only visited 3 a year. From 2026, there'll be 10, despite the actual racing often being worse. So why? Why are there so many street circuits? Cars racing past the Casino Monte Carlo is one of the iconic images in all of sport. But in the last few years, it's been joined in the Street Circuit Club by the dazzling Grand Prix on the Las Vegas Strip, in Miami, Azerbaijan and others. And there's no sign of the trend slowing down. The streets of Madrid have also gotten involved, and there are conversations about Grand Prix in the capitals of Thailand and Rwanda. But fitting them in means we say goodbye to classic circuits like Hockenheim and Imola, angering fans who are still packing out the European tracks like Spa, the Hungaroring and Monza. And these generally produce more wheel-to-wheel action than street circuits too. At Silverstone in 2025, there were a total of 26 on-track overtakes. At Monaco, 4. I'm an F1 enthusiast. Even I struggle with that. But it appears to be a good step. In 2025, there was a record 2.3 million strong viewership for the Monaco Grand Prix in the US alone. Meanwhile, for the British Grand Prix several weeks later, 1.5 million tuned in. So why are we seeing this drive towards street circuits? Well, no prizes for guessing. Money. Formula One demands a fee of between $20 and $60 million for the rights to even hold an event. In total, including sponsorships, it's believed officials in Saudi Arabia pay almost $100 million for their race. The huge fees are possible because of the street track's city centre locations, as people staying at hotels at inflated prices and tourist sites brimming with visitors mean the cities rake the cash back in when the race comes to town. So it makes financial sense for Formula One and the cities, but will it cost the sport in the long run if F1 races are too boring? After all, nothing beats the roar of an F1 car as it flies through the forests of Europe, or mechanics watching a storm coming across the humid Asian countryside. Take that away and, well, you may as well just watch American IndyCar.
An hour left of Sunday edition. Time to switch sports now. The NBA is returning to London when the Memphis Grizzlies take on Orlando Magic at the O2 later this afternoon. First time the NBA has been in the UK since 2019. One man who'll be covering it is US basketball writer Mark Steen, who joins us now. Mark, morning.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Very
Great to be with two of the best who've ever done it.
Quite right, yes. How big is the NBA in the UK and why is it here?
Well, it's here because NBA Europe is coming. I think that's part of it. There's going to be 2 games here in the next 2 games this year, 2 games next year, Manchester and Paris, Berlin and Paris. After that, the NBA wants to be in all of these cities. So that's a big part of it. And you know, they've done this here for many, many years, and now they're back. And I think you'll see a lot of Premiership footballers at this game. And
I think you will. I know they do like their basketball, but you haven't been here. The NBA hasn't been here for 7 years, so presumably it got to a point where it thought, well, we want to grow the game in Europe. Then it stopped because it thought maybe we don't need to grow the game in Europe, and now you're back.
Well, I think the pandemic was a factor too. Last game in 19, and then the pandemic, and they stopped coming to Europe altogether. They've done some games in Paris, but look, they want us to do a whole league here, and so this is a prelude to that. And you know, that's going to be very interesting to see. That's really the more interesting thing, how London and Manchester are going to embrace
in a
NBA Europe, but without NBA players.
Now, back in the day, I covered basketball in this country, and we had an English league, a British league in the 80s. It was on Channel 4. It had been signed up. I covered the Derby Turbos in the mid 80s, and for a while it did well, but then interest dropped off. The broadcasters didn't want it anymore. Channel 4 pulled the funding and dwindled. And it strikes me, while lots of people love their basketball, there maybe just isn't enough room in the sporting calendar to squeeze basketball in as well for sports fans in this country, even though we're great sports fans, we love all sorts of different sport.
It's really going to be interesting because there are so many huge clubs in Greece, in Turkey, all the Balkan countries, but the NBA wants to be in London. They want to be in Manchester. They want to be in Paris. They want to be in Berlin. And so how will a team that drops into London, that's basically a new club with no history, how will that fare? How will people here embrace it? What if a London team or a Manchester team has an affiliation with in Manchester, if it's with City, or if it's in London, if it's affiliated with one of the clubs, and then like how will basketball fans who support other teams, what will they think about that kind of team? So it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure. I love coming here so much. I hope it goes great, but I'm curious and a little nervous about it.
When we go to Real Madrid, you go to the Bernabeu and you pick up local papers in Madrid. You actually, you think, oh, well, hang on a sec, that's our high scoring game in El Clasico, but actually it's a basketball game, and obviously they're embedded in the club. From what you're saying, why can't we have that over here so that Manchester United can have a huge basketball team and they become a multi-sport club?
Well, like I said, I would be curious if there's only one team in Manchester and it's affiliated with only one of those two teams. How is it going to be received?
Like, it works in Madrid. You've got two big clubs in Madrid.
But in Europe, all of those clubs have basketball teams. So that's really the difference. That, in London, there will be one team. Can you have one basketball team that will appeal to all Londoners?
Mm-hmm. When you're talking about the NBA, how do US fans feel about NBA games being played over here in a way that American football games are being played over here as well? Because with football, we don't want any other games being played in America. We've seen the backlash they got in Spain about playing a La Liga game in America. They don't want it to happen. Whereas the Americans seem more open to it happening in Britain.
Our country is so big that even if you are obsessed with the Orlando Magic, if you are obsessed with the Memphis Grizzlies, you don't go to every game. It's not possible. Mm-hmm. Nobody does that. Whereas here, obviously, missing, there are fans with every club who missing a game is absolutely sacrilege. And so it is a difference. I mean, I think you see the teams actually like it. It's kind of a treat for them. They embrace it. So it's just a totally different mindset. Like, I think the Grizzlies and the Magic are actually, it's an honor for them to be selected to go to Berlin and go to England.
Will we see, a bit like with MLS, some of the older European players, actually sort of older American players, leaving NBA franchises towards the end of their career and coming over here for a period?
I hope so, because I think the league's going to need that, because that's going to be the thing. NBA, even if NBA Europe meshes well with the Euro League, even if and that's another issue, the NBA has partnered with FIBA, but FIBA and the Euro League don't get along so well. So how many the Euro League wants to continue, and so is NBA Europe and the Euro League competing against each other? So will NBA Europe? They will beat out the Euro League, I think, for top players. But again, these are Euro League standard players, not NBA players. So if you don't have NBA players to draw that crowd, how is that going to work?
You're so big in the States, you have a Panini sticker.
Well, Panini has a Dallas operation, so it's that helped my cause to get one,
because you were doing regular stuff.
Yeah, I had an in there.
But I think on the Panini sticker, it's you with Kobe Bryant. I mean,
that actually was a card, amazingly enough. But I got a sticker too.
We've got the main man, Henry.
Yeah, no, I'm not disputing that. Yeah, so, absolutely.
I digress slightly back to where we were before. Do you see a possibility of? We talk a lot about multi-club ownership here. Lots of fans don't like it, particularly the ones who are owned by Premier League football clubs here. I mean, would the New York Knicks adopt London, if you like, and therefore they're the franchise and they loan players over to London?
It's going to be separate franchises, because the NBA sees this as a revenue opportunity. They want to get, and that's another major question about this thing. The talk is that the NBA wants to get, $500 million to $1 billion for these franchises.
Yeah.
Can existing football clubs afford that kind of price tag to launch? Like Real Madrid is talked about is likely going to be in NBA Europe, but does that mean Real Madrid has to muster that kind of fee to have its basketball team in the league? Certainly there's going to be overseas investment that we see. And again, if there's going to be a team in London, there's going to be a team in Manchester, who's going to pay for those?
Starting when?
They would love to start in the fall of 2027. More likely it starts in the fall of 2028.
And today, what can we expect from the Grizzlies and the Orlando Magic? Neither are top of their respective.
No, and that's the thing. The NBA knows that a game like this will sell out, and so they don't have to send the Lakers and the Celtics to get a crowd. You know, the O2 will be absolutely packed. Like I said, there will be Premier League players from all over. Anyone who can get to this game will get to this game. So it's actually interesting from the American perspective because we're in the middle of our version of the transfer window. The NBA trade deadline is February 5th, and Memphis's best player, John Morant, his team is known to be taking calls for him and taking trade calls for him. So he didn't play the game in Berlin on Thursday. He is expected to play today, even though the Grizzlies are known to want to trade him here in the next 2 weeks. And so that kind of injects a level of unexpected tension into this thing, because if you walk around town and look at all the posters, John Morant is the face of the Grizzlies who's on all these posters. And there is kind of this discussion about, is he playing because he's being made to play? Does he want to play? Because there was some thought that Memphis would not play him again until they can find a trade for him.
Sorry, why do they want to trade him if he's so important?
Well, there's been a lot of tension. Teams have been underachieving, and we've already seen one star guard of his ilk, Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks, was traded in early January, was traded to Washington. And so John Morant has been talked about as the very same thing could happen. So that's really the major NBA-centric curiosity about this game today. Will John Morant play? They've listed him as probable. In the NBA, you have to actually list, if you're going to sit someone out, you have to list these things in advance. He's missed his last 6 games with a calf contusion. He is listed as probable. And so something would have to change dramatically now if he doesn't play. And so there will be a lot of eyes back in the States on him.
Plenty of big talking points then. So the Americans will be looking on this game interested.
Yeah, no question. And, it's early for us. It'll be noon Eastern time, 9 in California for us. So it's a way earlier game than normal. And it also has to compete with an NFL playoff weekend.
And you're doing this for Substack?
I'm doing it for myself, but I'm also doing it. I'm doing it for talkSPORT this season.
Brilliant.
talkSPORT has been.
Oh, that's why you're wearing talkSPORT hat then, Mark.
That's how I rated the club shop.
Mark Steen, US basketball writer and talkSPORT correspondent. Thanks very much. Enjoy the game this afternoon, Mark.
Thanks, guys.
Next up, we look at the latest transfer rumours and some of the done deals so far. This is Sunday Edition with Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. Handbrake turn now from basketball to Australian Open tennis, and an update with Tom Clayton.
Yeah, and there's a thriller going on at the 1573 arena as Cam Norrie is battling to stay in the competition. France's Benjamin Bonzi battled to a 2-1 set lead after losing the first set to love, but Norrie is biting back and has just levelled the match at 2 sets each. We are going the distance there. World number 1 Carlos Alcaraz has just kicked off his opener against Adam Walton, which is currently going to serve on the Rod Laver Arena. And overnight, the shock of the tournament so far, Arthur Ferry, British qualifier, ranks 185th in the world, has knocked out the 20th seed Flavio Caboli. In the women's draw, a routine straight sets win for top seed Arina Sabalenka, and Emma Raducanu's underway shortly, taking on Thailand's Mananchaya Sawankyo. If Raducanu reaches the third round, Sabalenka could lay in wait. A busy day drawing to a climax in Melbourne.
The Australian Open update on talkSPORT with TNT Sports. Stream every set live on Discovery Plus or watch TNT Sports channels on EE, Sky and Virgin Media. Subscription required. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Transfer windows everywhere, as we learned from Mark Steen, our basketball writer. They're in the middle of one in the NBA, and of course we're in the middle of one here, football-wise. And to bring us up to date, we're joined by talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs. Morning, Ben.
Shaun, Henry, good morning.
Morning. Now then, is Mark Gay going to sign today?
Yeah, so the formal process is underway. The medical takes place today. This one is a done deal as long as he obviously passes the medical, and that will take place a little bit later today. We know that this has kind of triggered Oliver Glasner as well, who spoke yesterday saying that he didn't like the fact that both Gay and Eze were done a day before a Crystal Palace game. But from Manchester City's point of view, they've got the Palace captain. It's an initial fee of £20 million and then some add-ons, taking it approaching but not quite £30 million. Palace originally wanted 35 million, but I think in the end, financially, it will suit them compared to losing him on a free transfer come the end of the season. And for Gay, he's going to be one of the top 5 earners at Manchester City, and he's agreed a 5.5-year contract.
Ben, Liverpool were in for Mark Gay pretty substantially in the last transfer window, and he was very close to moving, and he would have moved if Glasner and Palace had been able to find a suitable replacement. Given their issues this season and doubt about Konaté's future, why haven't they stepped in again this time?
Yeah, I think Liverpool's strategy is really clear. It doesn't make financial sense. Gay's wage plus the agent fees, the sign-on fee, effectively equivalent to what he would have got had he left as a free agent, coupled with the actual transfer fee to Crystal Palace, and all off the back for Liverpool of a spend of, if you include the add-ons, around £450 million over the summer. So yes, football-wise, it might have made sense to do it now. Liverpool sources tell me, as a free agent in the summer, Gay would have been a no-brainer, but I think they were just reticent to pay such a big fee, given the player's only got 6 months left on his deal. In hindsight, come the end of the season, let's see whether it looks like a mistake, because he is exactly what the club need. And as you say, he was sold on the move over the summer. But City were aggressive financially, and Liverpool's tactic is really clear. Always with players, and the same with Gahey. They went to the Crystal Palace captain and they said, you can go to Man City now, we're not going to enter the race, or you can wait for us. And if you really want to join Liverpool, you'll have to do it as a free agent in the summer rather than now.
Tammy Abraham looked like he was heading for this country the other day, and that seems to have gone a bit cold, Ben.
Yeah, it's quite complicated because it's not a negotiation between Aston Villa and Roma, due to the fact that Tammy Abraham is on loan at Besiktas and they've got a conditional obligation to buy. In other words, it starts as an option, and if he plays a few more games, it becomes an obligation. Tammy Abraham wants to move to Aston Villa, or more broadly return to the Premier League, and yet to get the deal done, Aston Villa have to strike a deal with Besiktas to compensate them, or simply to get him back to Roma so they can finally end up paying for the player. The club-to-club negotiation with Roma was basically verbally done in the transfer for Daniel Malian, who's gone over with a loan with a conditional obligation to buy, and that part is already done. And Villa know that Abraham is going to cost between 11 and 13 million pounds, depending on the payment terms of the deal. But first they have to find a way of actually persuading Besiktas to release Abraham from his loan back to Roma so they can complete the deal. And at the moment, Besiktas are saying not only do they not want the recall to happen, but they want the conditional obligation to end up being triggered so he becomes permanently a Besiktas player. And at the same time, there's been some suggestion that Evan Gessard could go on loan to Besiktas as a sweetener, so they're not left short up front. But Villa and the player don't really want to go down that route, and this is why at the moment it's hit a stalemate. So deal is not dead, but it's complicated because there's not 2 but 3 clubs involved.
As ever, Chelsea are looking around the market, signing, selling. Apparently they're in for Jeremy Jacquet.
Yeah, Jeremy Jacquet would be quite a coup to get him now because he's contracted until 2029. Rennes are pushing for Champions League football, and sources had always said heading into the winter that they really don't want to sell. And to change their mind, it would have to be a club record sale surpassing the 64 million euros that Manchester City paid for Jeremy Doku. At the moment, Chelsea's valuation is less than that, but there are direct club-to-club talks, and Chelsea are really pushing. And my understanding is, despite the fact that Jacquet has interest from Bayern Munich and Real Madrid and Arsenal as well for the summer, the player's decided he would quite like to go to Chelsea right now. So it's all about the club-to-club negotiation and just how high Chelsea are prepared to go. Chelsea's starting point is not close to 64 million, that Doku fee. And Rennes, as you would expect with a couple of weeks left in the window, are still insisting it's a club record sale or nothing. So we'll wait and see in the coming days if they find a middle ground. And there are further direct club-to-club talks already scheduled for both today and Monday.
Not strictly transfers this, Ben, but I know you keep across this one. Thomas Frank's future, where do you stand?
Yeah, Thomas Frank is under serious risk. We now understand here on talkSPORT. So it's been a rapidly evolving situation, and it's not just born out of the 2-1 loss to West Ham, where once again Tottenham were booed off. But at the early part of the window, Tottenham did everything to throw their weight behind Thomas Frank. John Haitinger came in. Frank was involved in the signing of Conor Gallagher and Sousa, the left back, as well. And it all looked like Tottenham were going to just hold their nerve and stick with Thomas Frank until at least the end of the season. But in the last 10 days or so, the mood of the board has changed somewhat, and he has lost some support internally within the club. And there'll now be a meeting in the coming few days to decide whether or not Tottenham will consider making a change right now, or if they're going to give Frank a little bit more time. And if he gets that Dortmund game in the Champions League, that could really be defining as to whether or not he stays or goes. But it's not ruled out that they even make a decision on Frank before that game takes place.
Wow. Top stuff, Ben. Thank you very much. I'm sure you'll be across everything. Always nice to hear from somebody who knows what they're talking about, Henry, don't you think?
Yeah, don't look at me like that. I mean, the only issue is, can you really go game by game? I mean, it's difficult. You've either got to be sort of decisive. You can't say, well, we'll give him the Dortmund game, and if it works out.
I know. You do feel that the mood music is that he's off.
Yeah, definitely.
This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT with Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. Next up, we'll look at the AFCON final as hosts Morocco take on Senegal.
Transfer window. Breaking news on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
It's the final of AFCON today. Yes, the African Cup of Nations, when Senegal take on Morocco at 7 o'clock UK time. You'll have heard a lot about this over the last month, largely because Mo Salah's been involved, but he's not anymore because Sadio Mane's Senegal, his old mate, beat Egypt 1-0 on Wednesday evening, while Morocco, are the hosts, beat Nigeria on penalties that same evening. It's a tasty final, but for Salah, he would have been absolutely devastated to have gone out this, because he'd have loved to have won that and come back to Liverpool and gone, there you are.
Yeah, and what happens when he does go back to Liverpool? Because you looked at the way that Florian Wirtz played yesterday.
He's playing well now.
He is playing well now, and surprise, surprise, he is a good player. I mean, Liverpool don't spend that sort of money without doing their research and know what a good player he is. Obviously, there was going to be time taken for him to acclimatise to the pace and the physicality of the Premier League, and he has taken time. But so my issue with this, and I've been sort of boring people with that all season, can you have a focal point like Florian Wirtz and Mo Salah? Different positions, one's more central, one's wide. I get all that, but in terms of who's going to be the sort of the brains and the heartbeat of the team, can you effectively have two heartbeats of the team? My medical knowledge is fairly slim on that, but it's going to be interesting to see whether Liverpool, they get an offer from Saudi and he does decide to go. Where are they with him? I think he's handled it post-interview very well, so we shall see.
But they've seemed pretty flat without him. I know he was
true.
being left out of the team, but the Salah spark still, to me, galvanises the whole team. And at the moment, without him, even while I accept Wirtz is starting to play really well, it still feels you need him so much. It's not so easy just, well, he's 33, whatever. It's okay. They'll get a lot of money for him.
He's a special player. I absolutely take.
But does he
that.
deserve to come back and be welcomed back with open arms, given what he said?
Well, I think you'd have to have a proper chat with Arne Slot.
Mm-hmm. And what would that discussion be like, do you think?
I think maybe there needs to be a little bit more contrition. But look, he's an absolutely special player. Didn't we vote him Football of the Year?
but what does how does Slot, do you think, feel about it? He said, look, I could do with, was it 15 Mo Salahs or something like that?
Let's ask an expert.
Raman Osman, football journalist and co-host of Made in Africa podcast. Morning, Raman. How do you think Mo Salah was feeling after he went out that semi-final?
Gutted, to be honest. I've been following Mo Salah in the last 5 days, and the discussions here in Morocco and back in Egypt, and there was that strong feeling that this year was supposed to be that year. He played very well, I should say this, and he scored more goals in this AFCON 4 than he did in any other AFCON, and he himself said that the campaign this year was better than he's ever been in. So there was that strong feeling that this year was going to be in it. So he would be gutted by the way everything happened, especially that semi-final game against Senegal. The third time they've come up against Senegal in the last 4 years. He coming against Sadio Mane and just never being able to get the winner or even standing out. So the feeling will be gutting, and you suspect this might be his last AFCON.
Particularly to get done by Mane again, who, let's be honest, they didn't have the best relationships at Liverpool. He's done him once before and got the better of him again. And that sort of hug between them didn't look the warmest to me.
You know, the thing is, both of them are incredible professionals. They try as much as possible to get on with the work. And Sadio had an interview with someone else where he highlighted some of the fallouts they had. But you got the feeling that whenever they came against each other, played against each other, Senegal versus Egypt, one wanted to get one over the other. The problem with Mohamed Salah is that his Egyptian team are just so pragmatic. They kind of play on counter-attacking, while Senegal have a lot of flair and talent, and the help from Sadio Mane is bigger than the help that Mo Salah gets. But in the end, one way or the other, Senegal always find a way to go through it, and that's what he has to live with now.
I mean, Senegal, was it 12 goals in this tournament, Raman? I mean, they've been absolutely outstanding. Is there an element of attack against defence in this final today, which I think is on 7 p.m. UK time? Because you look at Morocco, is it 5 clean sheets so far?
Exactly. I mean, it's the most attacking team against the most defensive team that will come up this evening in one of the best games we are anticipating for a number of reasons. The game has started already, Henry, I should say. Senegal have already made their point. The point is that they are telling the whole world that when they arrived at their stadium, their hotel, they didn't have security. They are saying that their hotel, they are not happy with it. For the first time throughout this competition, we've had complaints from a team that they were not happy with their hotel. Just this morning, there were complaints. I was speaking to one of the officials from Senegal. He said they didn't like where they trained yesterday because it was quite very open. And what that meant is that Moroccans could keep a tap on them. What they're trying to do is that they want to sell a message of conditioning the referees and conditioning everybody that, mate, the host nations are doing everything with CAF to try and win it for them. So the game has started. So you shouldn't be surprised if you see a few calls, referees hesitating and saying, okay, Senegal are saying that CAF is trying to pin them here and there. But it should be really interesting. Attack versus a very pragmatic but effective Moroccan side. And for many who have followed African football, Morocco, in their estimation, is the best team in Africa in the last 4 years. They got further than any other African team at the World Cup. They haven't won the AFCON in 50 years. So there's a feeling that they need to host it and win it. And they've hosted it very well. This competition hasn't had any surprises. Henry, you know why? Because the conditions have been absolutely so great. All the top players have been so good because the stadia, the pitches, the drainage. Yesterday we had big rains here, but when you touch the turf, the drainage system is so good. And the weather, all the European players that have been here, they've been able to play because they just come into the same weather. Unlike most AFCONs where we play maybe late 30 degrees, this is European weather. So that's why you've seen the likes of Sadio and Salah all performing at that level.
Just looking at the coaching, I mean, this will be the fifth competition in succession. It will be an African coach will have won it. You've got 2 African coaches in the final. What has happened? Because we used to see, French coaches would go over there and sort of dominate. What has happened with coaching? Is this something that CAF has invested in?
Yes, it's something that CAF and African teams are making a point on. There's that sense of attachment when you have an African coach. And Aliou Cissé, Senegal actually, the first time they won an AFCON in their history was led by a man called Aliou Cissé. He's moved on now, but Eric Chelle has come back. He's also Senegalese, played in that famous Senegal team that qualified for the World Cup for the first time. And I feel, and Mourinho even said this, that African teams should be played by African players and African coaches should be coaching African teams. It's a very strong point. In maybe 15, 20 years ago, one of the big problems of Africa has always been just the technical knowledge. We always have the technique, power and everything, but just the technical knowledge to bring everything together was a downside. Coaches are training in Europe. Some of them are being big attachment. Kolo Touré now works with Man City, and I wouldn't be surprised in the next few years, he will get a big gig in Africa to coach his country, Ivory Coast. Now, the knowledge impacted could be good, and players are beginning to respect a lot of African coaches. In the last 4 teams that made it to the AFCON, all of them were coached by African coaches. That should tell you that now African coaches are getting the big gigs. Hopefully, it's something that continues and has a big impact.
Raman, you're sounding very excited about African football at the moment. Put you on the spot. What are you actually expecting tonight? Who's going to walk off with that trophy?
It's a dreaded question. It's hard to tell because all of them have won the AFCON 1-1. One of them will win it twice now. Morocco, like I said earlier on, haven't done it in 50 years, while Senegal did it in 2021. My view is that Morocco will have home advantage. That is key. That stadium will be rammed by Moroccan fans because if they don't win it now, when do they do it again? But Senegal also have a generation of players that are running out. The likes of Sadio Mane. He's already said this is his last AFCON. So he would want to take it back to Dakar. Edward Mendy, Idrissa Gana Gueye, just fading away slowly. So the motivation will be so high. But I just think Morocco will be so pragmatic and Senegal will go counter-attacking.
Get off the fence.
Morocco.
Morocco, right. We're going Morocco. Raman Osman, co-host of Made in Africa podcast. Enjoy the match tonight.
Yes,
thanks,
bye.
Raman. I'm going Morocco too.
Well, I'm so enthused by that. I mean, it's 8 hours away and I'm ready to settle down and watch it. No, it's fantastic. And it'll be a good game. You look at some of the players on view.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be. That's 7 o'clock tonight, UK time. For more AFCON final preview, check out the latest talkSPORT daily podcast, where Flex, Kweku Afari and Tony Afoke go head-to-head over who will lift that AFCON trophy when Senegal face Morocco tonight. They also reflect on the tournament as a whole, revisiting the standout performances, major flashpoints and the most memorable moments. Listen on the talkSPORT app or wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Sunday Edition. We look at today's games next. This is Sunday edition. Time for an update in the Australian Open tennis with Tom Clayton.
And Cam Norrie's just taken a massive step towards the second round as he's broken Benjamin Bonzi in the final deciding set. It's been a brilliant match to watch with a few unforced errors. Norrie the seed here. Meanwhile, Bonzi sits just outside the world's top 100 in terms of ranking, playing well above that stage. It has been a great contest to watch, though. No such issues for Carlos Alcaraz today. The world number one has just taken the first set against Australian Adam Walton. And the biggest headline of the day so far, Arthur Ferry, the British qualifier ranked 185th in the world, knocked out the 20th seed Flavio Cobolli. In the women's draw, Emma Raducanu is just getting underway in her first round match against Thailand's Manachaya Sawankyo. That one's currently on serve after the opening few games. Top seed Arina Sabalenka is also safely through after a routine straight sets win, and Venus Williams is a break-up in her deciding sets in her first round match.
The Australian Open update on talkSPORT with TNT Sports. Every set exclusively live on TNT Sports. Subscription required. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Be there for Super Bowl 60 on talkSPORT.
The Super Bowl is just around the corner. talkSPORT is giving you and a friend the chance to experience it live. You've got until Thursday to enter for the chance to win tickets to Super Bowl on Sunday, 8th of February. Return flights to San Francisco, 3 nights accommodation and spending money. In just a few weeks, you could be soaking up the Super Bowl atmosphere and exploring San Francisco. Sounds good? Here's how to enter.
For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close this Thursday at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. So, for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now.
Back to the football now. There are a couple of games today. Starting with Wolves versus the Mighty Toon. Wolves v Newcastle. Here's Newcastle boss Eddie Howe ahead of the game. He was asked if the Magpies can look to spend some of the profits from the Alexander Isak sale this January.
Yeah, I don't necessarily count the money. So again, I will react to the information that I'm given, and collectively we come to the right decisions. I don't think it's a case of there's a pot of money stood somewhere. I think PSR is constantly moving and changing depending on our income. So lots of things affect our income, whether we're in the Champions League, how successful we are through the season. So it's constantly changing. You can't ever sort of get one reading on it because it changes on a daily basis. So we're having to react and change to that ourselves as we go through the season. All I can assure everybody is, and I've said this so many times, that if there is money to spend, the club are willing to spend it. There's not a case of anyone holding anything back. But of course, we've got to comply within the rules. We know how important that is.
He's the first manager, Henry, that I've heard say how PSR actually changes on a daily basis and you don't know what money you've got from one week to the next.
Yeah, he also seemed fairly phlegmatic there. And, you know, also effectively
should be stamping his feet, demanding cash from the Saudis.
Yeah, well, but as he says, you know, PSR sort of restricts that. You've got to increase your revenue. If you did have a bigger or more available pot of money, where would you spend it?
I think we've probably got to
centre back.
Got to be in defence. Yeah, not that the defenders aren't good, but they're all prone to injury.
Livramento is frustrating.
Yeah, but you know, Dan Burn's been out, Shaw's out, Botman's had his injuries. There is a bit of a need to strengthen there. I could say go and get your mate John Stones from Manchester City, but of course he's seriously injury prone.
Yeah, and that's an issue obviously for Manchester City at the moment, Mark Gay coming in, but that's an issue for England because it looks like he and Gay were forming a good partnership, and obviously now Konsa steps in. But just on back to Newcastle, and with a slight England tweak, Lewis Hall.
Yeah.
What are his odds of starting for England at the World Cup? Because a lot of Newcastle fans, whenever I sort of list all the 12, 13 left backs who've been used by England at left back over the last sort of 18 months, including Trippier on the wrong side effectively, they always say, Lewis Hall.
Yeah, it was interesting, isn't it? Because Lewis Skelly looked like he was flying and start the season. You'd probably have put him up there. He sort of disappeared off a cliff.
Yeah, and then it was O'Reilly.
Nico O'Reilly. Yes, there is.
Luke Shaw coming back. He played well yesterday. No, I don't see that. But seriously, Lewis Hall.
You don't see Luke Shaw ahead of Lewis Hall?
No.
In the team?
No. No, or in the squad. I mean, no, I think
not in the
Lewis Hall
squad.
will go.
Oof,
I think
sure
Lewis,
axed.
don't you think Lewis Hall will go to the World Cup?
No, I'm saying you've axed Shaw from the squad. I was a bit surprised by that. Don't you
Luke
need two
Shaw
for
in the
every
England squad?
You don't need left backs, 2 left backs?
Well, I think you'd have Livramento in there
as a left back.
Has Tuchel? We're going off on a tangent here, but has Luke?
You took me down this rabbit hole.
Left backs have been dominating my dreams for the last and nightmares for the last. Since Ashley Cole, really. But yeah, anyway, coming back to Lewis Hall, it's great to see him playing like that because what a good player he is, both sides of the games, going forward. And
yes, indeed, but we should beat Wolves. I know Wolves have had a little bit of a resurgence, but I expect Newcastle to win. The 4:30 game is Aston Villa v Everton, which is a little more relevant than perhaps it was going to be yesterday morning with City losing, Arsenal only drawing. And to be honest, Arsenal pretty frustrated yesterday, weren't they?
Well, you saw
Declan
Rice. Yeah, and I like that about Declan Rice. I think, that anger, that frustration, that desire for... He knows this is Arsenal's opportunity. Manchester City not completely at the races. Liverpool have dipped. Aston Villa, as you say, have been fantastic. Morgan Rogers, one of the players of the season. It was interesting hearing that Aston Villa needed to strengthen in midfield, and everyone was talking about Conor Gallagher, and, he would have been great for them. But their midfield, when you look at Tielemans, when you look at McGinn... and obviously Rodgers, I know he's playing slightly differently, whether he's playing 10 or also slightly off the flank.
You find that one difficult still, Rodgers, on you?
Not particularly, no. I think he's a fantastic player. And I think
you're a bit worried he's going to get in starting for England ahead of Bellingham.
I know you don't rate Carrick, but Carrick actually helped Morgan Rodgers develop. And Morgan Rodgers, when he moved to Villa, he sent Carrick a text saying thank you for being part of the journey and helping him develop. So, no, Rodgers is a fantastic player.
Are Aston Villa in with a chance? They win this afternoon, getting back into the shake-up.
As in winning the league?
Yeah.
No, Arsenal, it would be great to see.
I think they're in with a shout. I was a little bit surprised. Yep, I'm putting them in with a shout. I know they lost badly to Arsenal, but apart from that, they've looked pretty good.
Is the squad deep enough?
Probably not, which is why I was surprised they got rid of Mullen.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't, because look, I don't watch Aston Villa every week, but he looked pretty good as a backup striker, sometimes a starting striker.
I think you should watch Aston Villa every week, even if it's just
it's
highlights.
Not always possible.
You can always...
highlights, yes, all right.
But you can... They are worth watching. They're a good team.
Yes, they're a good team, but you don't think they can win the league. Why can't they win the league? Is it strength and depth?
I think strength and depth. Look, they might get Tammy Abraham. They might get Tammy Abraham. I think they've had 1 or 2 injuries, but they've just got an outstanding manager. And let's call him a manager rather than a head coach.
Because he does rule the roost there.
As do all of the managers of the top 3. And maybe there's a moral for other chairmen to look at.
But I do think if Villa win today, they can think about it again. He went off the radar, really, when they lost to Arsenal. They think, well, they're not really up to it. But this is a good chance to get back in the mix.
Yeah, El Grealish-ico, I think we'll have to say.
Well, yeah, Grealish might think, should have stayed at Villa. Obviously, he's had success with City, etc. But where he got his real freedom was at Aston Villa, wasn't it?
I don't think Villa were going to turn down 100 million.
No, but that's where he got his freedom. That's where he loves to play, and he's not getting that anymore.
He's 30, 21 appearances for Everton, 2 goals. Finished. No, but he's not going to be in the England squad, so he really needs a strong end to the season.
He does. And he's a good lad, Jack. We'd love to see him get back on track and maybe still make a little bit of a rush for the...
Can we have him as a wild card for the World Cup just for interviews?
Yeah, absolutely. That's it for this week here on Sunday Edition. We've got a very special guest next week who is slightly Villa related. So stay tuned for that. Up next, it's the warm-up with Max Rushton and Barry Glendenning.